Are we filming? Yes, we are. So welcome to another video podcast. I'm going to try and do the best I can to keep this good for you if you're listening rather than watching. Forgive me if I make one or two mistakes. I have done, but we'll see how we go. Secondly, thank you very much if you watched my last podcast. Over 2 hours. That was a huge mammoth podcast. I just got carried away, but perhaps you can forgive me for that. But having regards to trying to keep it shorter and having one foot in the analog world, as it were, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up my egg timer. Why do I call it an egg timer? Okay, so I'm gonna set up my timer here because I'm gonna try and keep it to within a reasonable time. Okay, so what am I using today? Well, first of all, I'm busy using one of my vintage filofax Winchesters, which I'm working on a project to create a reference file, and I just thought it'd be fun to use one of my vintage binders. Now, this is made out of Morocco leather, and it's no, this is calf leather. I thought it was Morocco, it's calf leather, but it's not got great flatability. It's sort of okay, but it's not what I would see as a working tool, a daily working tool. But it's good enough for reference. So I'm going to use this as a reference file. In fact, the flatability is better than some modern ones, but nevertheless, it's still not as I would like, but it's good enough for reference. At least it's not like a clamshell where you let your hand go and it snaps shut. One person on social media today, and it's got the fabled popper is still in existence, which is, as we know, quite rare for a vintage filofax. So lovely jubbly. Someone on social media was saying that their modern Holborn that they've just acquired snaps shut like a clamshell, which is not good. And then someone else mentions that their one, which is a little bit older, is fine. There's a photograph on social media and it opens fine. So it's much of a muchness. It can be a bit tricky. Someone said, and I digress here, but we are in a podcast, aren't we? They said that, and they were talking about the Holborn model, Holborn, that the quality has, they call it deteriorated over time. I don't know whether that's true. I don't own a Holborn, but you be the judge. But they're definitely looking around social media, there definitely seems to be some, what I would say, variations in quality and materials used between models, the same model but made in different years. Interesting. I will revisit that, but yeah. So luckily this is okay. What else am I using? Well, I'm using my Frankenfax. I've done a little modification. What I've done is I've got some paper, which I've hand cut myself. This is a sheet from a page of Rhodia Clairefontaine A4 paper from a Rhodia notebook, and I've trimmed it so that the squares are actually in alignment with the page. We'll discuss that later. And I've just made sure that each of these subdivisions are more clear. You'll remember if I apologise, because if you're listening, you won't know what I'm talking about. But basically, I'm holding up I'm holding up my Frankenfax, which is a homemade filofax, where the instead of a binder, it's just the dashboard is the cover, and I've got a strip of paper that marks in freehands the different segments that pertain to my stepped index system. And what I've done is I've just tidied that up by adding a piece of paper, a paper cover over the top, which I will just glue down. Well, not glue down. I will use a bit of tape. This is very rough and ready. I'm experimenting and evolving and trying different things. Some I like, some I dislike, but this is a work in progress. As you know, that's all part of the interest I have, developing paper-based systems that work for me, possibly others, and it just looks a little bit neater like this. And the other advantage of having a piece of paper like this is if you suddenly had to note down something, say you saw a crime in the street and you had to jot down that registration number of the car, the license number if you're in the States, then having a cover you can actually write on without even so much as turning over a page will stand you in good stead if speed is of the essence. So that's what I'm also using. I've been using my leather bag full of sheets, and inside here today is a Pilot G2 1mm pen, because I just happen to be using a 0.7 because I'm writing small. I can never really, I like 0.7 and I like the 1mm nib, but I prefer the 1mm nib, I think, for speed, but sometimes this is a better option if you're writing small. So what else am I using? Well, I've been toying with this is the Mulberry wallet, if you like, that has hitherto been used to fit my Frankenfax, although it wasn't a Frankenfax when it was in here. But this is essentially, I thought I'd show you this. That this is where my Frankenfax comes from. It smells fabulous. It's a croc print calf leather, Mulberry, England. I love the gold stamp there. I think filofax should go back to the sort of gold stamping of yesteryear. I love that. I much prefer this to the embossing that filofax are using at the moment. But I just thought I'd show you this in the podcast because it's just a nice thing. It's a really, really nice thing. And although I don't use it as a wallet, I'm glad I own it because it looks like a gentleman's wallet. If I ever became a man about town, which is not what I am, and I was going to the theatre and I had lots of banknotes or bills, this is the wallet I would have in my jacket pocket, no doubt. It just has that lovely, it doesn't have good flatability, but then again, you know, that's not important. But I have used this today. I actually have used this today because I did have this in a jacket pocket, and I was just a little bit worried because the jacket I was using was 50 years old, and I didn't want the sharp edges, even though they're not quite sharp. This exoskeleton design might have damaged the lining of what is a fabulous jacket. And so what I did was, when I was out, I just fitted this into my Frankenfax, and I just carried it like that. It worked fine. So and then one final thing I am using today, two final things. I've been busy writing in an age bag notebook, which is Clairefontaine paper. Lovely quality, really nice. I love this Clairefontaine paper. And finally, I'm all fingers and thumbs here, I have been doing some business paperwork, and my business paperwork as a working tool. I had to go on I had a business meeting today. While I carry this under my arm, it's my A4 sized filofax Lyndhurst, which I don't use every day, but I used to use every day for about 10 years. It's about 20 years old now, just coming up to 20 years old. Fabulous quality. It's an absolute bulletproof working tool. And although I'm not going to bang on about it, I feel because this looks just like any other A4 leather binder, I don't feel self-conscious about using it in public. So I was using this. So how are we doing for time? Well, time will tell. So let me just put these things back. There's just one other thing. That that I've been using today. Remember this? This is my filofax M2 that made its last appearance was a couple of years ago. I don't really use it at all at the moment, but it is, it's an overused term, but it's sensational quality. But I just wanted to go through some of the, because I'm talking about diaries, I just wanted to go through the diary that was in here, and this diary is about 10 years old, and I haven't used it as a diary for about 10 years. But there is something I want to report, and I noticed, bearing in mind this doesn't get used from one day to the next, even though the quality of this is just out of this world, really good quality. I've modified it slightly by removing the toggle on the zip, because the zip is really, really nice and smooth. But I've cut the pen loop off, as I'm inclined to do sometimes. Interestingly, these rings, I don't know who makes them. I don't know who makes them on behalf of Filofax, but I'll tell you what, fantastic quality. I wish that the rings in my smaller binders, this is my Mini Executive, the rings on this one seem to be much better quality than the ones here. And certainly better than the rings on my Guildford Mini Extra Slim, which is the best. It's simply the best in terms of form factor. But the rings, not so much. But the rings on this M2, fabulous. However, there is a fly in the ointment. And it's this. Take a look at this. I've just noticed this. Let me see if I can get this to the point where you can see it. Now, look at that piece of leather. It's just about to fall off. A huge chunk of leather. And the deterioration of the leather goes all the way down the spine. Look at that. Can you see that? Can you see how it's just splitting? And I've just left it like this. And through age or use or poor quality of leather, who knows, it's just starting to peel and fall off in chunks. If I touched that or started using this, a lot of this leather would just fall off. And it does appear to be on the inside of the Filofax, because in conjunction with many, in the same way as other Filofaxes, small Filofaxes, the actual leather outside tends to be really, really good quality. But when you open it and look at this bit here, I didn't realise this. I didn't notice it. It's just falling apart. And yet, if you look at my A4, I mean, this has had very minimal use. I really just used it as a diary stroke wallet about 10 years ago, for maybe about 6 months, a year, something like that. I don't really use it at all now. Haven't used it as a diary for a decade. But they all seem to, or at least the ones I have, the two Guildford Mini Extra Slims and the Mini Executive and this, the M2, they all have similar looking leather on the outside and a similar problem on the inside. Not here. This leather is superb. This leather is superb. It is just the leather pertaining to the spine area here that's just falls off in chunks. I only have to think about it or look at it with my bare eyes and it starts falling and cracking. Well, I'm being over the top here, but I am so disappointed. I am so disappointed with that because I hitherto have, when I did the review of this, I was eulogising over how sensational the quality of the leather was. But I can't really do that if the leather is falling off in chunks. So, yeah, a bit disappointing. But I just noticed that today because I've been going through, and it will be, I will do a video about this diary and how my diary organisation has changed over the last decade. Look at this. Look at this leather. Just a whole piece of it. That's really bad. Okay, so we're up to 16 minutes. I haven't really started yet. That's terrible. Okay, so first thing, and this is going to be, I'm going to be trying to do this sort of fairly quickly. So, a question for you, a question I've been asked. And I'm referring to when I'm looking down here, I'm looking at my Frankenfax. Do I get feedback from the filofax company? You do so much for brand awareness. There should be a Flatability edition. Maybe editions without any stiffener. Because obviously I'm a big fan of Flatability. So I added that bit. Myself, maybe editions without any stiffener that I could suggest to them. I haven't suggested that, and no, they haven't. I haven't got any feedback from Filofax, the Filofax company, FLB Group, ever about any possibility of doing any sort of work. In inverting commas for them, any sort of promotion, any endorsement. I have approached them maybe 3 or 4 times, making suggestions, and those particular emails seem to get lost in the ether because I never get a reply. However, I did ask them about a more general matter today, and I did get a reply very fast within an hour or so, and I'll tell you about that in a moment. So let me just go through these, and I'm just trying to speed things up. Okay. Let me just think about what I've written here, because my writing is so appalling. It's difficult sometimes for me to read my own writing. That's one of the reasons why I write in capitals. Opinions wanted on filofax because of new diary inserts. Right, so these custom inserts that filofax are now providing. Now, I have always been of the opinion that one of the great advantages and unique selling points of filofax has been the inserts. And in fact, in earlier days gone by, you would have been able to do what's known as a custom fill. So the binder would have been supplied empty, and then you would specify what inserts you wanted supplied with your filofax, so you could do your own. The whole idea of having a filofax supplied as a complete working tool with a diary and some assorted papers and this and that, has been a relatively new phenomenon when I say new, I mean over the last sort of 30, 40 years. But before that, you would just get your diary, specify your own inserts, including your diary. Excuse me. Now, as you know, recently, filofax have introduced a limited capability to customize inserts. Okay, they're not bringing back the full range of thousands and thousands of different inserts from yesteryear, which is probably understandable. But certainly there has been some limited reintroduction of inserts to do with wellness, as an example. And so you've got some sort of ability to buy inserts to do with finance, although that they didn't entirely drop out of the picture. And now wellness, maybe one or two other things as well. I'm not quite sure, because that's not really my bag, as they say in the UK. I tend to just go with blank paper. That's what I do, and everything is done freehand. I mean, you can see from my notes. Sometimes I write large, sometimes small, but I tend to use, for reference, I use the grid paper, because it keeps it neat and tidy, almost like a bullet journal sort of thing. But for notes, I prefer doing everything freehand, a total blank page, literally, on which I can work. So this isn't really my thing. Custom diaries, inserts, not really my thing at all. But the reason I bring this up is because I want your feedback about it. So just leave comments on this podcast, or anywhere else. I will. At the moment, I'm picking up every single comment, because I withhold them, read them, so that I know I've read them, and then I make them go live, as it were. So it doesn't matter how you contact me, they will definitely get there. You can also contact me on social media. I do have a very rarely used Facebook page, so you can message me there. Why do I keep it open? Purely in case something happens to YouTube and then you wonder where I am. You can always contact me through social media. Threads is also a good thing, and Instagram as well. So bit of a not really a plug, but I'm just reiterating how you can contact me. But certainly the best thing to do is leave a comment on this particular podcast. What I'm looking for is an indication of how you are finding this. What is your opinion about filofax's new foray into customization? And whether you think it's enough, or whether you'd like them to go further. And depending on the number of comments I receive, I'll either talk about this some more in a future podcast, or indeed devote an entire video just to this very interesting subject. It is. I'm very, very interested in this. I mean, I love the filofax brand, and I love the whole concept of the repositionable notebook, and that's what it is. And of course, filofax are absolutely the brand leader, and they have been for over 100 years now. So long may they continue. And if they move in this direction, and I'm sure that they've thought about this and they've done market research to find out whether this is a good thing. And obviously that no longer extends to church records or army-related, military-related inserts. But certainly what they're doing, I find very, very interesting. And I'm curious as to whether or not they will expand the customization that is now available within the brand. So it's down to you. And let me just cross that off as I go. So I'm going to cross that off. I hope I haven't mentioned this before, but as you know, recently I did a really drastic dissection of my filofax Portlands, and it is drastic because I've always promoted the filofax Portland as arguably one of the best quality binders in modern times. I really go a bundle on Lyndhurst, Kensington, and particularly the Portland. I actually think that the Portland is arguably the best, although it's not a complete full grain leather, for those binders of the modern era that are where the leather is a thin layer of leather bonded to a man-made substrate. If I got £1 for every time I mentions the phrase man-made substrate, I'd be a millionaire now. But I would say that type of leather, where it's a surface layer bonded to a man-made substrate. There we go again. I would say the Portland is probably the best I've ever come across. Absolutely fantastic and very hard wearing, and crucially, it doesn't seem to susceptible to this horrible cracking and deterioration of the leather found on some other models. So very, very interesting how it lasts so long. So here I am cutting off the strap so that I can effectively turn a Portland into what I would consider a working tool, i.e. a mini binder that I can slide in and out of a jeans pocket without being snagged by the leather strap. That's why I do not like the leather straps on these. Certainly they're fine on where is it? Here we go. So if it's a reference binder completely stuffed with, say, 200 sheets, yes, absolutely, you need a strap there so you can put it on your shelf. It's not going in your pocket. You're not going to get this problem with this pen loop and the strap sort of getting snagged in a bag or a pocket, because you're not going to put it in a pocket. But certainly from a jeans pocket point of view, then I personally do not want the strap. And is it going to burst open because it doesn't have a strap? No, because I don't overstuff these, because the rings tend to be a little bit delicate, shall we say. They're perfectly adequate, but I personally recommend you don't overstuff the mini ones because the rings are a little bit weaker by inference. They're a little bit weaker than the larger, say 23mm, 25, 30, even 35. They're stronger, aren't they? So you can probably stuff those with impunity, but not the mini, not so much the mini. So just coming back to what I did with the Portland. So I don't know whether you've noticed this, if you ever look at how many times videos are used, but the Portlands, I've had over 1,000 views. It's one of the most well viewed videos of the last 20, perhaps. Although anytime I talk about EDC, which stands for Everyday Carry, you've got the EDC community breathing down my neck, having a look at what I'm writing and showing, because they're very, very interested in, particularly the Guildford, not this one. Where's the Guildford Mini Extra Slim? Here. Guildford Mini Extra Slim as a moleskin alternative, if you like. So there's a lot of discussion going on, partly due to the fact I've brought this up as an EDC candidate. But the Portland video has generated a lot of views, and some people are aghast, absolutely shocked that I have I've dissected and removed the leather strap on it. We're a bit sacrilegious, perhaps. But someone came up with this idea. Now I have lost it. I have lost the popper. I don't know where it is. It's somewhere. I still have it, but I've lost it. And that is, I explain that when I dig out, and I haven't done it yet, dig out from my toolbox my angle grinder, I was just going to grind off the studs. Look on your filofax right now and you'll see what I mean. If you've got a strap, a retaining strap, you'll see, if you remove it and have a look, you will have one of these studs. There we go. And I was going to grind off this so that there's no possibility of it wearing the lining of my pocket away. And I was just going to grind that off with an angle grinder. But this person said, why don't you just cut this off so that it is a square piece, that it is just the popper, and then you can just fit it on there as a design feature. And I quite like that idea, although it adds more height and by inference the protuberance into the pocket lining. But I do actually quite like that idea. Okay, this person says, I love ring planners, but I hate writing on the left-hand pages because of the rings. Now, I might have to make a whole video about this. So what I'm asking you is for your comments, whether you're a left-hander or a right-hander. Do you have problems writing with the rings? Do you, as I do sometimes, if I'm writing neatly, like a journal, do you take the page out and write what you have to do and then put it back in the binder? Or do you leave it in the binder and just put up with it? Or do you write potentially horizontally so that your hand is not being interfered with by the rings at all? Or do you use some other method? So I'm interested in, because I want to make a future video about this and discuss it at length, I'm interested in your experiences and your procedures for dealing with what might be a problem that's probably existed since back in the day when these ring binders were invented, as it were. What did I use at school? When I was at college, I didn't use filofaxes. I just used a ring binder. Typically, I would go for a 4-ring A4 rather than a 2-ring, because 2-ring are more fragile. If your file gets knocked out of your hand as you're racing downstairs to join the dinner queue, then you're more likely to lose your stuff, because 2 rings were clearly not as strong as 4 rings. But I do remember removing the pages, writing, and then putting them back because of this problem with rings, particularly lever arch files. If you don't know what a lever arch file is, you'll have to Google it. But that's where the rings are just enormous, absolutely enormous. If you haven't seen the rings in a lever arch file, then have a look and see what I mean. So your comments are welcome. Leave them in the method that you choose, and I will respond to you. Okay, I have noticed that the 23 lines of paper sticking out. Right. Okay, so yes, sorry, I've misread my own writing. So you will recall, I don't have I don't have my Guilford Mini Extra Slim here where I've done this, but basically There's been an issue with the alignment of the pages that has been brought to my attention. So basically, you get a piece of paper, a grid page out of a notebook, and you find that because of the limitations or the fact that they're not lining them up, or they're not lining them up when the paper goes through the guillotine in the way that I would like, you get half a square there and half a square there and half a square there, and the gap between the line and the edge of the page varies. And I prefer to make my own pages so that effectively, as an example here, using the Guildford Mini Extra Slim, instead of getting 23 squares from here to here, particularly with a diary, I can write the 1st of January to the 23rd of January, moving it around so that I align it correctly. I can get the same height of page, but I can go down 24 squares, so hence an extra day within the month. Not that it matters that much, but for me, being particularly pedantic and old school about this, I quite like. The more I look at this, I've gone for years and years and years without even noticing. And as soon as I notice this, I find it, I wouldn't say annoying, but every time I open a page in a Rhodia notebook, other notebooks are available, I notice this discrepancy here. I would see it as a discrepancy. They may see it as not a problem at all. But this viewer said, rather than 24 squares, should it not be 22, so that I can keep the page, which is, as you can see, it's slightly longer than the actual Guildford Mini Extra Slim itself. And the only reason why that problem has existed is because these pages from ostensibly a Rhodia A7 notebook, it is an arbitrary figure because this isn't A7 at all. Even though Rhodia claim or describe it as A7, this isn't 105 millimeters, which is the correct length of an A7 page. It's 120. If they were A7, this problem wouldn't exist. But I quite like a binder where, particularly one that's in my pocket, I quite like the fact that the paper is either flush or indeed even slightly bigger than the binder. It looks like it's tipped in. It looks like it's a working tool. It looks absolutely fine. And for me, and you'll notice this is sticking out even more because I've got some genuine A7 paper here sticking out even more than the I'm doing a video about this, so there we go. But I don't have a problem with the paper sticking out at all. I don't have a problem with it at all. No problem to me at all. Right, so where are we? Last episode should have added that eBay will send email alerts, but you have to go the extra step of selecting turn on email alerts. So basically, I was saying that if you are looking for a binder that is as rare as hen's teeth, like the Guildford Mini Extra Slim, like the Guildford Mini X Executive, you can set up an email alert, and I explains how to do it. But what I forgot to add is you can set up alerts by saving the search. It actually says save search. If you click that, it will save the search and only alert you if your app is running in the background. If you want it's not going to alert you. eBay will not alert you if you switch the app off or you've logged out. But you can circumvent that problem by then clicking a further button that asks you if you want email alerts, and if you do, then you can have the the app on your phone switched off, and you will receive the email to your email client. And so I just wanted to use the podcast to correct an error, or not an error. I mean, what I've said was true, but there is an additional way you can safeguard a crisis where you look and you discover that you could have bought one of these, but it slipped through the net because you just weren't there at the right time. And quite often with these, they're so rare that you could easily miss it. So I'm cutting my own throat here because I've got an email alert set up for this as well. Ideally I could have kept absolutely quiet about this, but I'm not selfish. I'm sharing the love, and we are where we are about that. Okay, how are we doing? Well, we're sort of doing all right. We're up to 40 minutes. What I'm going to do is I'm going to stop at an hour, and I will have. I mean, I could actually talk for several hours, but that's not good for you, and it's not good for me. But right. I'm gutted this week. I'm disappointed because I don't check every day, and it's a moral of the story I should have done, because every so often I buy from the filofax website. And what I tend to do is wait until periodically this is the filofax UK website. Your mileage will vary in your own country. But certainly the filofax UK site periodically has free shipping. And now they normally do free shipping if the order is over a certain value, but this week's offer is free shipping over a £10 spend. Now, I would say that's much more reasonable, but it ends today, and by the time by the time this podcast is shown, which will be, I'm recording this a few days before you see it, it's going to be over. So what am I going to do? Could I keep you guys posted about offers like this? And I think that's actually a good idea, because I'm doing this myself. If I spot an offer like free shipping, what I'll do is I will add it to the community page. I mean, if you're a subscriber and you've clicked the bell icon, then you'll get to know that that filofax UK are offering free shipping. So I am minded to do that. So that's a good reason to subscribe. I don't really plug the subscription thing, but if you do subscribe, it helps me out. Thank you very much. And in return, I'm trying to give you good material, which hopefully you'll find informative or entertaining, hopefully even both. So, talking about filofax, this is a really interesting thing. Now, recently I have been talking about how I use bulldog clips. If you don't know what a bulldog clip is, then look it up. And I've mentioned this more than once, because I use this channel. I cover not just filofaxes. I cover various other repositionable paper systems. I use an oversized bulldog clip for my repositionable page moleskin. I also use 2 mini bulldog clips for my Guildford Mini Extra Slim EDC, which I think could potentially be the ultimate EDC notebook in that form, using a combination of the rings and a couple of bulldog clips. Why do I use 2 bulldog clips instead of 1? watch the video and I can explain. But it's like buses. We have a phrase in the UK where if you see something more than once, they say, it's like buses, mate. It's like buses. So you see one and then you see another. I'm not going to explain why that is actually what happens, and especially in London, you see a bus and then you see another bus immediately behind it on the same route. How does that happen? Well, you'll just have to research as the reason why, because that would take too long. But it's an intriguing and an amusing thing that everybody knows about, or a lot of people know about, and it's been going on for 100 years or more, particularly in London. But the bulldog, the humble bulldog clip, I have noticed this more and more in social media, particularly on Instagram, and recently I've noticed it on the filofax website. And this is a really, really interesting thing, and this is what I'm coming to. The current advert for the filofax Holborn, they're doing I haven't got the Holborn, but it looks like a nice model, and they're doing a new colour they call concrete, which is a sort of white, bluey grey. Looks okay. Not my colour, but I do like the Holborn model. I'll probably get one and review it at some point. But they've got the for the Holborn artwork, they've got the binder in more than one size, and then they've got a pen, and this is an overhead shot, so it's a typical sort of setup for the artwork to promote a product, and then included in that overhead shot are 2 bulldog clips. And I just thought that, given the fact that the whole concept of a filofax was to use the rings, they're using 2 bulldog clips in the shot. Now, I don't know whether that's something to do with me. Maybe it is. If it is, thank you very much. I very much doubt it is. But I just wonder whether it's the company that was contracted to do the artwork. They have seen recently someone, i.e. myself, using a filofax and having 2 mini bulldog clips being used in conjunction inside that bulldog, inside that mini filofax. And I just wonder whether someone in the photographer or the whoever's in charge of the design, the overall design of that marketing shot, made the assumption that this is what people do if they use a filofax. I don't know whether filofax, someone in the marketing department or the artistic department of Filofax UK said, "Oh yeah, include some bulldog clips, because that's what we do." Because I have never seen any image before pertaining to the use of a filofax that includes bulldog clips. And here we are, a few weeks after I made my not classic, but classic for me, my classic video, which gained a lot of popularity. Suddenly there's this image in the artwork of a new product, a new binder, on the Filofax UK page. And what does it have in that image? 2 bulldog clips. Interesting. Now, this is the point where I normally have a coffee, but I don't have a coffee, but I'm having a virtual imaginary coffee while I pause to have a look at the next item, trying to decipher it. Interestingly, what I'm doing here is I am rather than I did set up a page where I was going to just basically recreate what I've written. But then I thought, well, actually, no, that probably the best thing in terms of minimizing paper is just literally work from work from the working tool pages in my filofax, because I am finding this very, very useful, not just for my to-do list. So 3 stars, 2 stars, 1 star. I'm just trying to keep it simple. I have up to this point used a 5-star system, but I'm experimenting with a 3-star system. I may go back to 5 stars, but 3 stars seems to work very, very well. And then, as you can see, I've got, apart from shop and notes, Q is questions, F is feedback, D used to be N, D is discussions, basically. And then I've got video ideas, projects, which is the videos I'm actually working on, the bullet points, if you like, and then spare paper. And then I've got my spare paper in my bag as well. So this is just to digress. This is working really, really well as a working tool, and it's really, really quick. I'm just going to go off screen to just blow my nose. I'm not even going to cut it. I'm just going to do it. Excuse me. So I'm back in the room. Okay. Now we're on the. This is going to be a video as well, but this is again a request. Today, you'll recall I sent a message today, and I alluded to the fact that they responded within half an hour or so. And this wasn't as a potential, I won't say influencer, because that's not the thing, but the seeking of responses from filofax with regards to certain issues. Like, for instance, my plea to get them to reintroduce something akin or similar to the Guildford Mini Extra Slim, that sort of format. I've asked them a couple of times and I've never ever had a response. But when I ask them an easy question, this is probably a difficult question. Because how do you if they said, well, we have no intention to make a filofax that small, so naff off. They're not going to tell you that. But it is reassuring that with an easy question, they answer immediately, almost immediately. And this is the question I sent to them this morning. I said, hello, when will the 2025 diaries be available? Now, they got back straight away and said they'll be available in March 2025. Now, they didn't mean 2025. They meant 2024, I'm sure. So we've got a situation where they're going to be available in 2024. I wasn't sure. Some companies don't issue their diaries until October or November. If you're Wilco, well, the recently defunct company that amongst other things made these diary inserts for filofaxes, I didn't see those in there until December. Far too late, in my opinion. But I understand that, they're more likely to be bought in December than any other month. But filofax are a company specialising in paper-based productivity, so they're a little bit earlier than that. So they according to what they've said to me today via email, they're going to be available 9 months ahead of schedule. And I have commented, I have discussed this myself with you guys, that I personally think that if people want to jot things down 12 months ahead. So you say, for instance, you meet up, you have a meeting in January, and then you agree, someone says, this has been a great meeting, let's mark in our diaries that we will do this time next year. And that's really difficult if you don't have a diary for next year, and you have to wait until, in this case, March, and you have to use some of that note paper and just write notes, take notes, and store them in your diary or your filofax so that you can then rewrite them in your diary when you finally get your hands on it. So in this case, March 2024. So you can fill in all those dates that you're going to miss. This is not something. It's not a criticism of filofax, but it does surprise me that they don't provide they only provide 9 months. They only provide diaries 9 months ahead of schedule. They're providing a 12-month diary, because you don't get 9 month diaries or 6 month diaries. Typically, a diary, when you buy it in a little cellophane packet, it covers 12 months. Or if it's some diaries can be 18 months. Some can be 5 years, but certainly a 12-month diary from filofax in the cellophane packet covers 12 months. And you can't get it until it's 9 months before it starts. And I think it should be 12 months. I'm going to probably bang on about this a little bit more. But what I want to do, before I do bang on about it, I want to get your opinion. Do you think that that's an encumbrance? Are you happy to jot things down for 3 months? 3 months worth of notes? And are you happy to wait for the 3 months until you buy your 2025 diary? Are you happy to wait until March 2024 before you buy your 2025 diary? Now, obviously, you don't have to buy from filofax. I was communicating with an administrator for the filofaxy website, where where you can go to print on demand, print your own pages in various different formats. And there, the 2026 diaries are being made available now. So that is your answer. If you can't wait, then there's ways and means, and so downloading printable files will instantly resolve that, or do what I do and just literally have blank pages so that you never ever have to worry about it again. Okay, it's a pain. It's a real pain to write out, shall we say, if you're doing a day to a page, to write out 365 pages and make sure you get all the dates and the days of the week right, so that it doesn't, because if you make a mistake, my goodness, you've got to do it all over again potentially. So once you've done it though, once you are a year ahead, it's easy to just do a few more periodically. Do 7 more sheets once a week or something like that. Take your pick. But it is a pain to start with. And if you're time poor, get them printed. If you're time rich, you might as well save your money and print it on your own paper. But let me know. It's one of those things. I reiterate. If you send me some comments, there's a good possibility I will discuss the point you're trying to raise for the wider community. Okay, I'm just trying to decipher my own writing. it's a good job I write in capitals because even I can't read my joined up writing. Okay. If you, and this follows on for the next, if you have a particular subject you want me to discuss, even in either in the podcast or in a completely separate specific video, then let me know. I'm taking requests. A bit like Ed Stewpot on the radio on a Sunday morning many decades ago. So requests are welcome. Vintage. Now this is a topic that requires several videos, not just one. But this is just some feedback from one reader, viewer. Re-vintage. Does quality come into it? I think it does. I was talking about how I believe that the definition of vintage has to encompass quality as well as age. And clearly this person agrees. When I talk about encompassing quality, I mean a bit like a wine. You know, you have vintage years, which are good vintage and bad vintage. And then people will say, well, that was a vintage year. They typically are associating the term vintage with the quality of an item, thus differentiating good years and bad years. So it's interesting. And let me know if you agree with this. A reader is using a personal size binder as a wallet. And what they say is they describe it as like being a giant wallet. I've never heard of that term, but that's fair play, isn't it? That's interesting. And she says, but I don't care. Now, the reason why this lady is saying I don't care is because I have recently discussed my inhibitions carrying a personal size binder for various reasons. So this suggests that the lady concerned has a certain amount of inhibition, which she has conquered on the basis she says that, but I don't care. And she says, she finishes by saying, I love having everything with me all the time. And that's absolutely fabulous. Absolutely fabulous. So thank you for sharing your opinion with us. Another reader says, and this is following a particular video recently, she says, filed under, in inverted commas, must watch, ! And that, I would say, that gets my viewer comment of the week. Very succinct. And I very, very much appreciate that comment. Thank you so much. I love the fact that here am I talking to people around the world about a subject that we share a love for. I would have loved to have done this when I was a teenager. I've had to wait until I'm retired before I do this, partly because of time constraints, and partly because this is a relatively new phenomenon. I must admit, I did start a podcast and a YouTube channel about 10 years ago, 11 years ago, but pressure of time meant I couldn't carry on with that. But here I am doing it. I love it. Thank you for your comment. You officially get the comment of the week badge, the gold star. My stepped index system. And this person says, this gave me an idea of how to find my sections faster, since my current index is a bit slow. So I could be wrong, but I'm assuming that her current system, this viewer's current system, I think it's a she, it might be a he, forgive me. her current system, which this person thinks is a bit slow, might well be traditional tabs and dividers. I'm going to do a video about this in more depth. But I do find my stepped index system faster in terms of, just overall usage, getting to the appropriate page in a split second rather than several seconds. And crucially, I can do it one-handed rather than two-handed. So if you're, for instance, on a tube train, so a subway, and you are holding the rail as the train is swaying around, you only have one hand. So if you do want to have a look in your binder and you have a step system like the one that I showed in my video, then that could be the answer. But certainly I'm not the first person to do it. And there are pros and cons, which I will allude to in a future video. But nevertheless, if you're wondering what I'm talking about, I will show a picture at this point, and I've also got a short explanation on the community page as well, where I've outlined how it works, what it does, why I've done it. Square alignment, and this person says, I get that, as in the fact that when you look at pages from a in this case a Rhodia notebook, you can see that there's the squares do not align with the pages. And I've mentioned it earlier in this podcast. This lady says, I get that. The same feeling when some of the squares in my notebooks aren't exactly aligned. And she's emphasised the point by adding an unhappy face. And so clearly I'm not the only person. So if you also have an issue with this, is it grating you? Do you find that it's irritating when you're presumably you are buying some squared paper, you're using squared paper because you like everything to be in alignment, and yet the paper that you're using is not in alignment, at least with the edge of the page. Does that bother you? It bothers me. Maybe it bothers you too, but let me know. And also, if you're not bothered about it, let me know that as well. Maybe I could do a poll. I haven't done a poll before. But at least let me know, and we can all have a think about it and share ideas, share opinions. We're doing for time. How are we doing? Right. Well, we're out of time. We are out of time, and I have got so much more, so much more. I mean, it's just ridiculous. But I'm going to leave it there because. I'm going to say goodbye to you. Thank you very much for watching. And then afterwards, I have what I've subtly called a commercial after party, where I talk about my making money, basically. But I'm not going to do that. I don't do a plug within the main body of the podcast. I do it afterwards. So, without further ado, thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye. So, if you are still with me, the Department of Commerce wants to discuss one or two things. So, I am creating well, first of all, you'll notice there's something that's happened to the description on this Podcast. If you look at the description, there are no commercial links. But there is a link to my website. Now my website is easy to remember. It's flatability.com. And there's a link at the bottom of the description. What is flatability.com? What is my website? Well, it's somewhere where I basically want to share with you what I'm using, where I get it from, how much it costs, why I'm using it, and I am basically just sharing with you. It's not a comprehensive list of everything I can think of, because I tend to have I tend to talk about things that I have experience of and ignore the things I don't have any experience of. So basically on there you will find a series of products I'm using. Paper, for instance, where do I get this hole punch and how much is it, etc. And those links are predominantly affiliate links where I earn some money, if a small amount of commission if you click it and use it. I think that's fair enough. It's no extra cost to you, but I do earn some money from affiliate income, which helps to support this channel. It doesn't cost you anything to do it. So I've decided to have this website where I've got all my commercial links, if you like, and keep the description of each video sort of free of anything commercial, so that if people aren't interested in my commercial activities, then that means it's good for them. So what else am I going to do on there? Well, one of the things I'm going to do is it's not completely commercial links, affiliate links. There is some other stuff on there. That's my intention, where I'm just doing it because I want to share that stuff with you, and that I don't have any affiliation with these companies whatsoever. But it's just stuff that I'm using. So if I'm using it, and it's good, then I will leave a link. If I use something and I don't think it's good, then I won't. As an example, I very, very nearly didn't use a link here because I was a little bit worried that the quality wasn't good enough. But after using these for the last 2 or 3 months, I'm happy that, they're not going to last forever, like a tin opener or a pair of scissors. They're not going to. They're so cheap that you can't expect them to last forever. But I'm actually satisfied with this. And one of the things that I think will be really, really good is if I have links all on one web page. And I discover a cheaper place to find these, as an example, then all I have to do is just change one link. I don't have to laboriously go through links in many, many videos. I've got over 140 videos. If I had a link for this on each video, I would be reluctant to spend a couple of hours going through all the links just so that I can change this because I found it's being £1 or $1 cheaper somewhere else. So for me, the big advantage is that I only need to change an affiliate link once. But also the advantage to you is that if I find that I can get hold of a better deal for a product, then I am more likely to be able to do that immediately, which will benefit you at the end of the day. So that's all I have to say about the system. With regards to any special offers on filo-fax, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to probably put an announcement periodically on the community page, the YouTube community page. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm pretty sure. So anyway, I hope you find. I hope you have I'm waffling here, but I hope you have a prosperous week. And until next time, thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.